Okay. All right. Um, so, you guys know, have something handy, whether that be a block or a pillow, something that you can use in between the legs because that will help when we go into trying to segment the spine. So, tonight is about our upper back, and it's really our whole spine, and then we'll get a little bit of hip stuff too. And freeing up some space, but then also learning like how to control and that our spine does move. Because when we lack the mobility or the control when in like certain parts of our spine, that's when things get tight or sticky and kind of stuck when those places don't move. So we'll free up all the stuff from moving the whole thing. We'll start on our back. Have your prop handy, whatever that is. And then bring your feet hip width apart. So setting up like we normally do. And then grab your prop and place it in between the thighs. Now, it can technically come wherever, from the knees all the way up. You might like it closer up the thighs because it might give you more feedback and a stronger connection to the pelvic floor, and because the fascial connections from your inner thighs are to your pelvic floor. So giving you some more strength and connection there. Take a couple breaths just lying with your spine on the mat. And notice the parts of you that are touching and the parts of you that aren't. Not judging, just noticing. So the spine, we're going to take a moment to think about it, is from the neck. So notice is the neck lifted? Does it feel in a neutral position? So we wouldn't want the chin lifting really high. We would want it just gazing, the whole face gazing up to the sky. Now notice the upper back, mid back, the low back, and then where the low back inserts into the pelvis, you'll find your sacrum. And that's the very bottom of the spine, and they're fused vertebrae. So it's a triangle shaped bone, but it's your vertebra, but it's all fused together. So you may or may not feel that connecting to the ground. Right. So we'll hug the block or the prop or pillow in between the legs so that you start to feel some tension and some control from the thighs. Press into your feet and then begin to lift your sacrum off by curling your tailbone, glutes work, and just the sacrum peels off. And through this, it's all about just learning the control. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just figuring it out how to move your spine. So try just the sacrum, and if you lifted too much, you can bring it back down. You'll feel the core working, like this is our core work too. And then try to peel just the low back up. And sometimes I get, like, you might not know where, like, low back goes to. That's okay. It's not like we're going specifics. Just try. And then mid back. Especially here, this is when you're just trying to peel up. So just your butt's lifted, just the low back's lifted, and then try to work that mid back up. It didn't work the best shirt, but. So it might help to think upper back's really pressing into the ground. And then lift as much as you can without lifting too high. So you don't have to like lift and thrust the hips. We're just lifting to control the movement so that just our shoulders and our upper back, very top of the back, is still on the mat. Now we'll try to segment it down. Squeeze your block. Think right below your chest bone. That area comes down. Press it down and keep the rest of the spine lifted. And then below that, so behind your ribs, think about pressing that space down. And it's hard. I can hear you, both of you being like, that's hard. It's okay. And then the low back and the pelvis. And so hopefully you felt some tissue, like glutes and stuff, working on that. All right, we're going to keep the block there and bring the hands behind the head, or your pillow, whatever it is. Squeeze it so that, again, you feel that tension, and then press your sacrum down and work your low back down. So doing your best to press those two spaces down into the mat. And right away, even without lifting the upper body, you're feeling that core work because you're actively pressing down. This is helpful in freeing up some fascia too. Now, pull the elbows in so that the elbows lead up to the sky. And then keeping your neck in a somewhat neutral position. So what that means is we're not going to curl it and crank on the neck up because we want our core to work. Take a breath in. Exhale, actively push your sacrum and your low back down, and then just lift your shoulder blades or part of your shoulder blades, and then lower down. Breathe in. Exhale, low back presses down into the mat, and then lift all or part of your shoulder blades up. Reach your left arm forward, and then take it across the body. Turn a little bit to the right. Reach a little more with that left arm, trying to press your middle back away from the direction of your left fingers. And then bring it back to center. Hand comes behind the head, lower down. Notice the difference in the sides. Exhale and lift. Reach your right arm forward. Take it across to the left and then reach further. Then in the middle of your back, try and pull that away from the fingertips. Bring it back to center. Hand comes behind the head, lower down. Exhale and lift. It's our last one. Reach the left arm. Turn slightly to the right as you reach that left arm in that direction. Reach the fingertips away from the center of your back. So that whole arm moves forward by moving that left shoulder blade forward. Bring it back to center. Hand comes behind the head, lower down. Keep hugging the block. Exhale and lift, or your pillow. Right arm reaches forward. Take it across the body and reach. And then think right behind, right in the middle of the back. Pull it away from that hand. Relax the neck if you're really drawing it in. I was. And then bring it back to center. Now lower down. And then the hands are going to reach up to the sky. Reach the knuckles up towards the ceiling. Fingers are interlaced. And then think. So relax your neck, but right in between those shoulder blades, what we were just doing on our back, we're trying, or when we were lifted, try to press that space down. So right in between the shoulder blades, actively press down. Just do your best with that action. Now flip your palms up to the sky, so we're stretching out the wrist. And then keep reaching up. Notice if the tissue in the chest is we're overworking, that tends to happen, and that would be our pec muscles. Try to soften just a little bit. It's going to work some, but try to get this action happening from the back. The front pulling down. Whew, okay, release that. And then bring those hands down. Now we're going to set the prop off to the side. Pull your knees in towards you. Now, depending on how you feel, you can rock forward and back or roll to your side. And we'll come on to hands and knees. All right. Setting up so that the wrists are right under our shoulders. Is my mic too loud? Or not loud enough? Or is it good? Okay. So, wrists right under the shoulders, knees underneath your hips. What happens sometimes is our knees are too far back.
Okay, so didn't put my contacts in. Also good. And then Sherry, you're the other way, so just check, because I can't see you're the other way. That's fine though. But it closer is better. I'll just say that, because when we go too far back, then we lose that ability to stabilize there. So closer is better. Bring your left hand behind your head or next to. So if it doesn't feel good to bring the hand directly behind the head, just bring the fingertips to the left side. Okay? Now think about lifting the back of your left arm towards the ceiling and pushing with the right hand as you rotate a little bit to the left. Don't go too much, just think upper spine. And then bring it back and your left elbow comes towards the right arm to any degree. Keep the core working as you inhale and reach it up. Exhale and bring it down. So again, thinking about the upper spine. Inhale to open. Exhale and bring it down. Now on this last one, reach up. On your exhale, bring your left arm underneath the body. Now this might look different for everyone. We can bring the left shoulder all the way down, but if you have that, so it would look like this. But if you're limited in the rotation, grab your object and see if this works. And if it doesn't, we're just going to come up here. Okay, so just take that object and place your shoulder or the outside of the arm, which really it's the outside of the arm, down on your object. And then you can keep your gaze down too. It just depends on how it feels. If that's too much, you would just bring it up and then take it across the body. It's not quite as effective, but if we're limited in that rotation, so again, left arm is threaded through. You can also, what we did on Tuesday, you could bring the forearm down and then push into that right hand. Because what we're trying to get is that upper back. So left forearm would be down, push using the right hand, or if you're able to thread it through. That makes sense? So forearm or arm. You should be able, yeah. And then push the ground away like you're trying to round through the upper back. All right, take one more breath wherever you are. And then bring both hands back down under the shoulders. We're going to roll the shoulders, our shoulder blades. So hands stay on the ground, but think shoulder blades up by the ears, towards one another, down and away. Shoulder blades up by the ears, shoulder blades squeeze together, shoulder blades down, just do your best, and then spread the shoulder blades apart. If it feels funny, it's because it is. It's not something that we've probably done before. And just like with everything else, it takes some time to learn it. Okay, now we'll go to the opposite side. So keep your left wrist under your left shoulder. Right hand comes behind your head. Press the back of your head in towards your hand so that we're not dropping the neck or the face forward. And then turn towards the right. On your exhale, bring your right elbow towards the left. It doesn't have to touch. Reach up, inhale, exhale. Think about supporting the movement with your core, so taking it slow and with control. Last one. Then bring your arm through. Options. Bring your arm through all the way. Bring a block or a prop underneath the upper arm. Or bring your forearm down and then push the ground away. Any of those options work. You could also, if that doesn't feel good, take it across the body. This is more of like a tricep stretch though. So, right, yeah, and then thread it. So you're taking it under. And if it doesn't quite, like if you get here, and I mean, you can totally stay here too. Like you could just thread it through and breathe. Like I'm sure you feel, right, that upper back. So just breathe into that space. But you can also lower if you have it, or just bring the forearm down and then push the ground away. So there's a couple options with this. And they do feel different. So it's targeting the general vicinity though. Send your breath into your upper back ribs the best you can. So inhale, try to breathe in that upper back, around the ribs on the side. Okay, and then press up using your left hand. Bring your hands back to be under the shoulders. From here, we're going to work on segmenting the spine, but now it's the full spine. So what we did on our back, now we're going to do it in quadruped. If you want to, that object can come in between the thighs here, if you'd like. Now, planting the hands firmly, try and pull your hands and your knees towards one another without moving them. Then take your tailbone to the sky. Let your belly come down as you find extension in your low back. So that's like you're trying to arch your back. And then think about arching your mid back. And then think about your upper back. So everything is going to go into extension. And then your gaze goes forward. Now, try your best. We're going to push the hands forward and push the knees back. Try and curl your tailbone first. And then think low back to the sky, mid back to the sky, upper back to the sky. And then bring your chin towards your chest. So we'll do that one more time. So keep rounding. Now try to send your tailbone to the sky. Extend in your low back. I've heard this before, so if you think like loading and unloading the spine, that might help. So you're loading or bringing even more intention in the low back, mid back, upper back, and then gaze forward. And last one, curl your tailbone, low back to the sky, mid back to the sky, upper back, head. That's something that's really worthwhile to play with as often as you can. So come back to neutral, because if you find somewhere that's like really difficult to move, you can just try to move that space. It's hard, not gonna lie. All right, so we're gonna walk the hands up towards us and come onto the knees and then step your left foot forward. So we're in a kneeling lunge. Your back toes can be tucked or untucked, whichever one feels better for you. Engage and squeeze those outer hips together, and then we're going to roll the shoulders. So think about what we did on the ground. This might even be easier as you lift the shoulder blade up, roll it back, and then down into its back pocket. Reach it forward, up, back, and down. You're trying to alternate side to side. Again, unfamiliar movement at first, but the more we do it, the more familiar it becomes. Okay. Now from here, we're going to bring the hands across the chest. So we freed up the scapula. Hands come across the chest. Think about bracing your core, again, squeezing those outer hips. Bring your elbows down, so you're trying to round through the upper back. So we're just moving at the upper back. Bring your elbows over to the left. So we're rotating as we round through that upper back. Now drop your left shoulder back as you come into a lateral flexion, which means left shoulder drops down, right shoulder lifts up. And then try to extend just your upper back. So again, squeeze those hips, lift up towards the sky, and bring your right shoulder down toward your right hip. And then rotate here. So you're going to bring your elbows down towards your right hip bone, and then bring it back to center. So we'll try to reverse it. Breathe in, exhale it out. Bring your elbows down first. You could do this standing too. Like if this bothers your knee, you could do both knees down. You could totally do it standing. Rotate to the right. You're bringing both elbows towards that right hip bone. And then bring your right shoulder down. Left shoulder lifts up. So it's to the side. Extend in the upper spine. It doesn't have to be a big movement. You're just lifting, trying to extend, which means back bend in the upper back. Drop your left shoulder down, right shoulder lifts. Rotate so both elbows come towards your left hip bone. And then bring it into center. And then lift back up. So it's a thoracic spine car. Okay, we'll bring those hands down. You're like, what? I just want to tell you. So bringing the hands down, we're going to turn just the upper spine to the left. Keep your right knee down and extend your left leg back. So we're coming into a modified side plank. The left arm reaches past your left ear. And then reach your left arm back by your side and forward. Back by your side and forward. You can make these as big as you'd like, as much rotation as you'd like. Okay, and then hold it overhead, opening up that lateral side of the body. So from the outer blade of your left foot all the way up to that left hip. Then left side to the left ribs. Try and lift all of that space towards the ceiling. Keep pushing into your right hand. Now think about moving a little more towards the back body. You're going to let the left shoulder round towards the ground, but keep lifting, so more towards the left back body lifts towards the sky. Breathe again into that space. And then the left hand comes down, left knee comes down. Okay, now cat-cow here. Just try to segment like we were. So low back extends, mid back extends, upper back extends, but notice the difference left versus right. Curl your tailbone, low back towards the sky, mid back to the sky, upper back. Draw your chin towards your chest. Come back to neutral. Hands walk towards you. Step your right foot forward. That left side feels good. All right. Then once we get here, back toes tucked or untucked, roll through the shoulders first. So we're just freeing up our scapulas on our back ribs and all the tissue around it. Hands can do whatever. Some people like to hold the humeral bones or the head of the arm bones. You can let them float, swing by your side. All right. Now when you're ready, bring your hands across. Bring your opposite, if you know which side you crossed in front, then bring your opposite in front. Pelvis stays in that neutral position so that we're just trying to move from the upper spine. Okay, we'll go towards, I think we went towards first. So take a breath in. Whoops. Exhale. Brace. So squeeze those outer hips. Think strong core. Bring the elbows down towards your navel. Keep them down so that you're rounding in the upper back. Then bring the elbows over to the right. Then think about a side bend. So your right shoulder drops down, left shoulder lifts. And then think extension. Doesn't have to be huge. It's not going to be because it's just your upper spine. Lift the sternum up towards the sky. Bring it over to the left so that your left shoulder drops down and the right shoulder lifts. And then we rotate. So we're going to bring both elbows towards your left hip bone. And then bring it back to center. You're staying engaged the whole time. Come back up. Inhale. Exhale. Elbows pull down towards your navel. Take that rotation to the left. So you're flexing and rounding and then just rotating. So it's a twist to the left. Left shoulder drops down as the right shoulder lifts. Stay controlled. Lift the sternum up to the sky. Bring your right shoulder towards your right hip. Left shoulder towards the sky. Rotate. So elbows come towards your right hip.
And then bring it into center and lift. Those always get me. Release that. And then bring your hands down. Sorry if I'm heavily breathing into that thing. Those are challenging. Left hand down. Turn towards the right. Right arm lifts. Check your left knee underneath your left hip. And then the right leg goes back. And it's the right foot's going to come down to plant. Right arm reaches past your right ear. And then we'll start to backstroke the right arm. You can even, if it feels okay, you can release your head here. If that feels like tingly or there's some nerve stuff and it's uncomfortable, you can just leave it neutral or even gaze down. Okay, we'll reach that right arm past the right ear, round through the right side body. So think from the outer blade of your right foot all the way up the right side, through the ribs. Can you lift that whole right side more towards the sky or bring more space into it, all the way to the fingertips? Rounding now a little bit more towards the ground. So say that line just rotated or moved a little bit more towards the back. So now focusing on that back right side, lift it towards the sky. Gazing down. And then bring your right hand down and your right knee down. One more segmentation. Okay, so go at your own speed. Curl your tailbone or send your tailbone to the sky, whichever way you want to start, really. But just try low back, mid back, upper back, and then reverse it. So whichever way you didn't do, reverse it, trying to just move one part of the spine at a time. And if that's super challenging and you want to try this later and 3 parts is too much, just try 2. And then bring it back to neutral. Okay, we're going to bring your hips down. So we'll go to the left. It's our last thing here. We're going to bring the left shin towards the front of the mat and the right shin to the right. Okay, now bring your hands towards your left shin. And so, I want to preface this. So we're going to work that front hip and the spine. This leg, if this bothers you in the knee, you can always extend it or you can lean further away if you need to, or just extend and don't even worry about being in this 90-90 position. You can also sit on your prop. Okay, so just come underneath that left hip. Okay, lean forward. Think about the length in the spine. So hopefully, through all the work we've been doing, you're very aware of the spine, which is cool. I think is cool. Okay, lean forward. So again, long spine. And then maybe you're feeling some external hip. So all this left side, left outer hip. So we're trying to get to at the beginning here. So if you don't feel any of that, we want to try and get to it. So how would we do that? You think a little more anterior tilt of the pelvis. That can help you get a little more to that left outer hip. Okay. You can also bring yourself a little further forward, again, keeping the spine long. And then think about planting that outside of the left leg, and then driving the knee out. It doesn't actually move, just energetically, and see if that gives you a little more for that hip. Okay, take a couple breaths here. Now we're going to turn a little bit to the left. So for the spine, it's this rotation. The hands are just outside of the shoulders. So as we go over to that side, you just bring them just outside of the shoulders. Then try to plant the hands, and
As you're in this rotation, try to pull yourself more using the hands and then use your strength to hold you there. So this is a little mini pails and rails. Now, keeping yourself here, this is the brain challenge. Try to keep yourself here, but imagine you were going to use your muscles to bring yourself out of it. So again, you hold yourself like a statue where you are, but imagine you are going to try and use your muscles to pull yourself out of it. The reason we're doing this is we're training the tissue that would bring us out of the rotation. So again, hold yourself like a statue and just try and pull yourself out of it using your muscles. It's your pails effort. So we're just trying to work our way up and hold. Little shallow breaths. And now think about bringing yourself further into it using your muscles to bring you further. So you would try and not use the hands, but use your tissue in the spine, along the spine, your obliques, to pull yourself more into that rotation. These are like learning things that, so if you're just working something, you're working something. And we're rotating too, so even if you're just holding here, that's fine too. Moving the spine, because we lose rotation as we get older. It's the first thing we lose is our ability to rotate that spine. All right, and then bring it back, and the hands are going to walk back towards your shin, and then walk back towards you. Okay, bring your both feet forward, and we're just going to switch towards the front so it doesn't get confusing. But along the way, like, notice how you feel. You might feel some muscles that you normally aren't used to working. And if you don't, that's okay too. Okay? So setting up, the right shin is towards the right front of your mat, left shin is towards the left, or left leg can just be out of the way. Lean forward first with a long spine. So we're not rounding. If we're rounding, especially in the low back, sit on your prop. So you can feel, and hopefully you know now, because we did that a lot, you know what feels like rounding. So you can definitely just sit on the edge of something to help lift yourself up. So trying to find some sort of opener for the right hip. That might mean that you go a little more into an anterior tilted pelvis, sending your tailbone back behind you. It might mean that you think about planting that outer edge of the leg and driving it to the right. Stretching is actually a skill too. So finding it for you is a skill. Take a few breaths once you've found it. And then we'll walk the hands to the right. So what we're doing is rotating through the spine. So we're rotating. It's not a huge rotation, because if it was a big twist, we'd be like all the way over, depending on your range. But we don't want to train that far into it, because we're not used to working those muscles there. We're just taking a little bit of a rotation over, hands slightly wider than the shoulders. You could totally just stay. Or we're going to find some effort and ask our tissues to work in this position. And we're doing that so that whenever we're in this position, we have the joints familiar with this place so that they could eventually work here. So our pails will be trying to bring ourselves out of it. So make yourself a statue. This is the hard one for me. So maybe you're familiar. It's for you too. So again, long spine, hold yourself here, and then without moving, try to get your muscles to contract, to act as if you were going to come out of it. So start to try to rotate out, but don't let yourself rotate out. You might even get some hip stuff working, but think we want the majority to happen at the spine. Working your way up to more of a contraction, and then hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now we're going to try and pull ourselves more into it. So working the tissue to pull yourself more into it is our rails, working that regressive angle. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then release. Walk your hands towards the front of the mat, and then walk your hands back towards you. And that was challenging, so props to you guys. Because it's just difficult to like wrap our brain around those muscles. We're going to swing the legs forward. Hopefully your spine feels as good as mine. We're going to lower down and think low back, mid back, upper back. Because we can, because now we know. Right? So do your best again. Low back, mid back, upper back. Ooh. All right. And then bring your hands up and overhead. Now you can... So say this doesn't feel good in the shoulders or it feels pinchy, just bring the arms out a little bit wider. Extend your legs long here at first. See how that feels. Now, I'm going to stand to show you guys this. You're going to take your arms, or sit, take your arms over to the left, and then take your legs over to the left. Okay? So you're making a reverse C. This is called banana. So think like you're shaping yourself like a banana, and then relax when you get there. So like you can literally move yourself into the shape and then soften. If that feels okay, so just, totally relax, and your whole back is on the ground, because can't see totally. So you would wiggle, and then your hips, your right hip doesn't lift. So if you got there and the hip lifted, bring the back of your hip back down. And then maybe that right ankle, just depends on how you feel, that right ankle can cross over the left. Relax the back of your head, your shoulders, upper back. Take some deep breaths and visualize yourself softening. Releasing those back muscles. Maybe you're feeling some tugging on that right outer hip. Try to soften it. Okay. Slowly bring yourself back to center. So it's just this like wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then we'll bring it over to the opposite side. So again, you wiggle or move yourself into it. Now you're in that C shape. Wiggle, move the legs if you'd like to. And then relax. So then you're passive and releasing into the shape. If it feels okay and you'd like, you can cross the ankle over. Sometimes, especially with me, with my thighs, I have to just adjust for me to like how it is. So if I get here, sometimes I move the knees too, and then hold. Make it work for you. On your exhales, soften. Allow your back to release, to settle, to let go. So this is a big lateral flexion for the spine. And so all of the stuff on the outside, all of our fascia is pulling to open. It's all connected. Slowly wiggle back to center, and then bring the hands by your side. If you'd like to stay in this position, please do. If you'd like to change it, change it. Take a couple minutes for a Shavasana. Take a full breath in and release it out. and connecting, releasing through the back body. Noticing the parts of you that are on your mat or the ground. The same heaviness in those areas. Can you mimic or create that through the rest of the body? Shavasana. You can ignore me if you'd like for these next few moments. Otherwise, thinking about your breath, starting at the base of the spine. On your inhale, following the breath up from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown of the head on your inhale. On your exhale, visualize your breath from the crown of the head flowing down the front of your body, releasing it out. So again, inhaling, visualize the breath from the base of the spine all the way up, moving slow and steady with your inhale. On your exhale, visualize from the crown of the head it moving down the front of the body steadily with your exhale. Feeling this connection to your breath, to your body. And starting to move when you're ready. Maybe you make your way to wrist circles and ankle circles. Maybe a full body stretch. Start to walk your feet in towards your hips. You could stay or roll to your side. But pause for a moment to say thank you to yourself for this time. Because our spine is our nervous system. Right? Our spine is in control of so much of our body. So it's important to take care of it and realize the impact that it has physically on us. Slowly lifting up into a seated position, we'll bring the hands together in front of us with our eyes closed.
honoring ourselves for taking this time to care for us, to take care of our physical body here, because it takes care of us on a daily basis. I thank each one of you for allowing me to guide you. I hope that you feel better, more aware and control of your spine. We bow to ourselves and to one another. Namaste.